And it's just a look-see. It's not like
Yeah.
we're, gonna spend money. We just need information.
Right.
So Craig, you have your consensus. So we're done with that. We'll move on down to discussion item C. Discussion related to the Edmond Animal Shelter and the USDA Community Facilities Direct Loan and Program.
Okay, so a little over, I guess it's been over a year ago now, at the time, the Animal Control Advisory Board tasked us with looking into the concept of building a new animal shelter, obviously with agreements and growth and some other recent things that have come up. It's become a little bit more of a prominent issue, so we've been researching that more. As a part of our agreement for master city planning with Grossman Design Build that the EDC paid for, that was included in there was a concept design of an animal shelter. City staff has been working with them to design what we feel would be needed for an animal shelter to get cost estimates back to us. And the cost estimates have come back at estimating between 1.5 to 1.8 million dollars for a brand new animal shelter. So obviously the next question is, where do we come up with that? So we've been researching that and trying to figure that out on what the different options are. City staff did apply for the USDA grant program for critical infrastructures. And what that is it's an agricultural grant and loan program, very similar to the Texas Water Development Board program. You recall, we did a Texas Water Development Board grant and loan for some water projects. USDA process is very similar to that. We did get pre-approval back that, hey, our project does qualify. We are within a qualified area to have this project funded. So now we're in the application phase now. The application is about 82 pages long. Staff is working on that currently to try to get all of the things that are needed to fulfill this. And we'll likely start bringing that back here for your consideration. If approved at the level that we believe this will be approved at, then the USDA would grant 55% of the cost. And we could either immediately pay off the other 45% or do a long-term low interest note through the USDA for the other 45% of that cost, making our cost somewhere between $700,000 to $900,000 per facility. The timeline on this is still a little ways out because the grant process is long. There are no fees, no cost to the city at all right now for us going through this process, just the application. And I just wanted to make you aware, if we do decide to put forth the final application, there are some public hearing requirements, public input requirements that we have to comply with for the federal standards. And so the application process may take us about 6 months to complete. All I'm looking for tonight, again, is just very similar, just kind of a general consensus to move forward. Again, just because we move forward does not obligate anybody to expenditure of any funds. I'll be happy to answer any questions again as we get further along in the project, when we get down to the nitty gritty as far as design and where and how this is going to work. Obviously, all that will be discussed later. I just want to make sure that I've got council's approval and I don't just surprise you when I show up or when a public hearing shows up on an agenda. You don't know what it's about.
Location.
Yeah, currently we're looking at right by Johnson Park. There's a vacant lot that the city owns directly to the east that is substantially large enough. The shelter that we have been working on, a concept design, is an all indoor shelter, meaning that there won't be animals outside overnight barking, causing a noise pollution issue for neighbors. It's far enough away from a residential area that we don't think that that'll be an issue at all. And it's also on a prominent street, meaning that it'll actually make our animal shelter more visible, hopefully encouraging a higher adoption rate, higher frequency of people coming in and visiting, trying to get the face out there more, because that's a struggle of where we're located now, is that nobody knows where that shelter's at. If you've
they
never
have a
heard of
play
it, you
yard?
wouldn't know that we had a shelter. I'm sorry?
Will they have a play yard?
Yes, it does include 3 play yards in the concept design. Do I have sharing rights? I'll show you. Yeah, click the We're just not winning with technology tonight. No, it's not you.
Well, you know, it's really at the point now, we're either going to have to consider going with a new building, or we're gonna have to fix up the old one.
Yeah, or
Either
add on
way.
to it.
It's gonna have to cost.
How much land do you have on the back of where the old one is?
Where the current one is, it's sitting on 4 acres. The problem is that land is all in a floodway. And it's, one of the problems is really accessibility out there. It's just hard to get to. You're having to cut through essentially almost somebody's private drive to get back through there. We have had some issues with people abandoning dogs. They get to the shelter, the gate's closed, they'll abandon dogs at the gate. Well, they're abandoning dogs on somebody else's property. And those dogs have gotten loose and actually killed some livestock on a couple of occasions over there. So it's just not, it's not the greatest location. It's directly next to a creek, which is heavily wooded, which is horrible for ticks. So we're constantly having to battle ticks and spray and treat to keep all those out of there.
Mention mosquitoes.
And mosquitoes, yeah.
Is this an item that the residents can vote on versus council approving the money to be the bond or whatever?
They wouldn't vote on it, but they could certainly have a voice and an input during the public hearing portions of it, which is part of the federal requirements with this. So again, this is just a concept, but this is a concept design where we would have the building situated. This would be Dan Meyer. This is Everman Parkway. There would be dedicated employee parking and guest parking. The building situated here with a play yard on the east side. And then 2 play yards. This would actually be divided, 2 play yards on the south side. One of the things we don't have now is there is no play space for the animals at the current shelter. There's no space for us to be able to make introductions with potential adopters. Where they can kind of engage with the dog or animal for a little bit and play with them and see how they interact. We just don't have that space. No, it's one story. Let me try to zoom in here, give you a little better view. So front lobby area would face to the north. So this up front lobby would be facing Everman Parkway. We would have a reception area up front, which we currently don't have. There's no space for citizens to come into the shelter and just hang out. That's safe. Public restrooms up front, a couple of office spaces. We are planning to downsize this just a little bit to try to help with cost. We think it's a little bit overbuilt for what we need.
Right.
I think one of the things we talked about was removing an office space, removing combining the 2 employee bathrooms. Instead of having a men's and women's, we could have a unisex bathroom that's shared because we don't have that many employees down there. It shouldn't be a problem. This pre-meet room, a couple of things that we're looking at changing, but just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, giving the employees a break space because currently we do have 4 employees. Just to give you an idea of statistics, last month they ran 194 calls for service last month. Our calls for service are through the roof. They are very busy. We also get many volunteers as of late that have been coming down there and being in the shelter and helping out. There's just no space for them to sit down and relax. We currently do not have an exam room. This facility would include 2 exam rooms where we could have either veterinarians come in or staff take care of treat minor injuries, give medications, vaccines, whatever may be needed. 2 quarantine rooms, 1 for cats, 1 for dogs that are separated and isolated, a freezer room, food prep area. And then this is an all indoor kennel space. It includes 35 kennels. The kennels on the north side would have guillotine doors where the more aggressive animals could be kept. And when we had a dog that we need to move outside for kennel cleaning, they just open a guillotine door, the dog runs out, they close the guillotine door. It's safe for the employee to go in and engage, clean and do whatever they need to. They open the door back in, the dog runs. There would be a secure sally port so the animal control officers can pull into the sally port where it's closed before offloading an animal, so we don't risk an animal getting away or escaping from animal control officers here. So again, just a concept design, not final by any means. We're nowhere near there, but this is what staff was able to identify. Hey, this is what we would like. This is what we feel like we need to have an adequate space for the continued growth of the animal shelter operations, as we look to not only serve Everman and Forest Hill, but potentially other municipalities that may come on board with this partnership as well. So we're not just building for the now, we're trying to build for the future. And
Plus, we think it will benefit the Johnson Park too, seeing a city vehicles out there. Maybe
Yes.
will help
Yes,
with
and
that.
security there.
Yeah, a little security.
So with those concept designs, again, you know, it was able to give us kind of a price point of what we're looking at between 1.5 to $1.8 million. And we would like to start pursuing the grant opportunity because we know how long that's going to be. We've outgrown our current facility. We are struggling with operations to maintain. We are frequently at capacity because of how few kennels we do have out there. So we just would like to solve the issue. So with council's general consensus tonight, I'd like to move forward with the grant application and getting public hearings scheduled and moving forward with that process.
Yes.
Go for it. Go for it. Yes, yes.
Good on that.
Good on that one.
Okay, so next item B, Forest Hill Drive project and public hearing for April 8th.
Just wanted to make sure everybody was aware there will be another public hearing. We've had a couple of public hearings and public comments related to the Forest Hill Drive project. This one again is hosted at the Forest Hill Civic Center. It's going to be on April the 8th at 6 p.m. We did have somewhat of a decent turnout at the last public hearing, but the COG is really seeking public input. So we want to try to encourage as many people as possible to get out there. I still pretty frequently run into people that have no idea what our plans are with Forest Hill Drive and what's
Right.
going on over there and how the COG is helping us out. So we really want to help spread the word. Now that the master drainage study is complete, COG is utilizing that data. We anticipate at this public hearing for them to elaborate a little bit more about the project now that they have the flood study data that's been needed. Had a lot of conversations this last week with Jody and the team at COG about that. So we should get a little bit more insight about exactly what their plans are. There's also been several side conversations regarding properties and expansions and how we can make this work. So the project has definitely moved along significantly since the last public hearing. So I do anticipate there to be a lot more information about the project at this public hearing, but just wanted to make sure you were aware. It's at 6 p.m. Just want to make sure that you were aware. We will be doing, COG just shared with us this week, the social media post and everything. So that should start going out. We will also do a CTY this week to let everybody know about the public hearing. But we want to encourage as many people to come out there and hear directly from COG what they have to say as possible.
At the Convention Center in Forest Hill.
Yes, ma'am. And it will be Michael Morris, who is the executive director of RTC. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna meet a more experienced, brighter transportation guy than Michael Morris. I mean, he is by far the best thing that I think has happened for COG in North Texas in transportation in a long time. So,
He has a very good reputation.
yes,
so-
he does.
Okay, so we'll drop down to city manager report.
I think I've done enough tonight.
Okay, so mayor's report, I don't have anything, so it is 6:58 and we are adjourned.